Recently, I watched a video about life in the north of Sweden, where it's sunny all day in the summer, dark all day in the winter, and I was really intrigued by this location, by life in this region, and I wanted to learn more. Someone recommended another video in the north of Sweden. This is how I bought a $30,000 house in Wild, Sweden. So I really think this part of Sweden is really beautiful. I love how remote it is, the landscapes, the nature, and yeah, I just want to learn more about it. So tell me if you're from northern Sweden, if you've been there, what's it like, what's life like there. But let's watch this one first.
When I first came to Sweden 3 years ago, I had no idea I would buy a house here and call it home. I'm going to share the story of how I bought this house, how I found it, and some resources that can help you find a cheap house in Sweden. And I'm going to show you why I moved here in the first place.
I mean, already we're seeing some beautiful shots of the landscapes and the nature with those squirrels. I would definitely consider living in a place like this. I mean, the lifestyle would be fantastic, so healthy, I think. The only thing I need to think about is work. What sort of jobs are available here? I guess it maybe suits people who work from home or work remotely, but is there any other jobs here? What do people do for work in this sort of location? And could you ever live in a place like this?
Can you hear that? I just heard my first cuckoo. Spring comes later in northern Sweden. And finally, in June, we have leaves, blossom, and wildflowers. So I first came to Sweden 3 years ago, and I spent 6, maybe 7 months here, and I just fell in love with the nature, the place, the squirrels. And originally I came here to photograph golden eagles with a photographer. He rents out hides, Connie Lundstrom, and his brother actually got me in contact with the owner of this house. At the time I messaged him being like, do you know if there are any houses available in the same village? And he gave me a couple of options. One of the options was this one. At the time it wasn't actually for sale. It was for sale the previous summer, but something fell through. So Magnus got me in contact with the owner of this house, and I communicated with her on Facebook. I'd never even seen the house in person, but from photos and videos, I was convinced that I liked
Such
this
a stunning
house.
place.
And in the end, I paid for this house over the internet without seeing it. We created a simple contract ourselves, and a private sale like this means that myself and the seller don't lose money to an estate agent, but there is more risk. If it wasn't a friend of a friend, I may not have gone down this route.
I think that's like so brave to do. I think it's a great thing to do. Like I'm from Scotland, but I moved to Asia in my mid-20s, then I've lived in different countries around Asia. I always love living in different environments, different cultures, but this is a bigger commitment, like literally buying a house before moving somewhere. I've never did that. I think it's awesome. I mean, especially a house like that, it seems quite big for the price she paid. Maybe in this region are houses relatively cheap, or is that just a very good deal? Like if it was that cost, I would definitely consider, like you see the house, it's so big and spacious and in like a nice environment, nice location as well. Yeah, tell me about the running costs and things like that for like electricity and so on. I guess you need to heat your house a lot during the winter because it might be quite cold. Does it cost a lot to run a house like that?
I literally can't believe what we saw. We were driving home after swimming and I saw a moose in the middle of the road, and I was quite surprised with how she was behaving because she didn't want to run. And then we saw this tiny newborn calf, and I think that's quite rare, but it was amazing to get some photos.
Wow.
Like the size difference between the mother and the baby is just crazy.
I've
We
never
might
seen a
see
black
some more
moose
moose,
before.
so we'll just keep driving home, and we're about halfway, so let's see.
Wow, so interesting. Look at that baby. Yeah, I've never seen a black and white moose. Is that common or?
I think it's
Common in
pretty
Sweden?
obvious why I moved here. I came for the nature, and I stayed for the nature.
That's so interesting to look at. Look at that face. Just to see animals like this just roaming naturally, it's quite wonderful.
We're on a bit of a moose safari and we've just seen two young males. I was amazed at how relaxed they were. As soon as we saw them, they ran, but then they calmed down and then they started eating the young tree sucklings because all the trees have really young leaves. And yeah, I got so much footage of them and it was really nice.
Seems like such a peaceful place.
One reason I really wanted to move here is the amazing forests around our house. I'd already spent 6 months in the area before buying the house, so I knew the forest already. This afternoon I've come to the squirrel forest and I'm going to set up this camera, which is the NetView birdfly camera, and how it works is that you fill it up with sunflower seeds or other seeds, and birds and squirrels will basically feed from it, and you get a notification directly to your phone and you can easily monitor the wildlife in your garden. I've got a couple of exciting projects and I'm going to set it up just to see what's going on in the squirrel forest, but you can easily have it in your garden and connect it to your Wi-Fi, and then you can get lots of notifications about the wildlife visiting your garden. This winter we used it to monitor squirrels and the deer. We'll see what we find in the squirrel forest, but it's probably going to be squirrels.
That's so cool. Like, this is actually very good to learn about the wildlife of Sweden as well. See, just roaming in these forests, it's so interesting. You see the moose, the deers, the squirrels and so on. What's the most interesting wildlife in Sweden, in your opinion? Do you see any near where you live? Tell me also, in a place like this, do you think places like this there's schools that are close by? I have 2 very, very young children, but in a couple of years they'll be going to like primary school and so on. So if I was ever to move to a place like this, you'd obviously need to be relatively close to a school. Is like educational facilities all quite accessible, even in places like this, do you think?
A couple of days later, I checked the camera, and of course we had lots of red squirrel activity. It was so nice to get lots of different squirrels, a lactating female, we had Digit with the broken finger. It was also lovely to get some audio recordings, a chaffinch, and even some squirrel squeaks. I'm sure with time other species will find the feeding station, but what was really interesting was seeing these magpies. Look at what's going on in the background. So again and again, a bird of prey was mobbing the magpies. And looking at the footage, I'm pretty sure it's a male kestrel. So he's probably got a nest nearby and he's just mobbing the magpies because they could predate on the chicks or the eggs. So already in 2 days, I've seen some fascinating stuff. If you're interested in watching the wildlife in your garden, check out the NetView Birdfly camera. It will be linked in the description. One of the reasons for why I bought this house was actually the cost, and it might surprise you how much I actually paid. I ended up paying £27,000 for it, and compared to England and the UK, getting a house that cheap just wouldn't happen. For me, it was kind of perfect to buy a house here. It could allow me to continue doing my photography and have a whole house for myself.
So big as well,
We've
so
just
spacious.
got back from swimming and I'm going to make dinner. We're having ceviche vegano, or ceviche, which is like a fish salad and you eat it with tortillas. It's usually raw fish, but I'm using this, which is a vegan salmon by Hooked, and the first time I tried it, I had to check the package because I didn't believe it was vegan, but it is. It tastes and smells really good. The texture is, yeah, it's the only vegan fish that actually tastes like fish, in my opinion.
I've never tried any vegan fish before. This video is so relaxing, so nice.
One aspect I didn't expect moving to northern Sweden is how creative I'd become. I came here to do wildlife photography, but now I make videos and short documentaries. I love cooking and making up recipes, but sometimes it doesn't always go right.
They say that tacos and that similar type of food is quite common or quite popular in Sweden as well. Is that true?
We've come to the lake and all the ice and snow has melted, so there's finally water and we're going canoeing for the first time this year. This lake is literally 5 minutes from the house. We really take it for granted, and I hope this summer we can get on the canoe more often, and when it's warmer, I really want to swim, but I'll probably be a bit freaked out.
So big and beautiful, so close to your house. That is like such a wonderful thing. Look at that place. And And again, very remote, so you've got that whole lake to yourself. It's like quite amazing. Tell me if you're from another part of Sweden, like, if, as I say before, would you ever consider moving somewhere like this? And if not, why not?
We're just arriving to the Osprey Island, and so far I haven't heard or seen anything, so I'm not actually sure it's here. Maybe it chose a different nest. I hope you enjoyed the drone footage because we almost lost it and I had to emergency land it in some bushes, but it's fine. I think I can see something. So you know the island on the left? The middle tree has an open bit. That's the nest. And I think there's a bird sitting on the right. Yeah, there we go. See? She just flew off. Wow. Yeah, she's just landed back on the nest. So cool. I'm thinking one day I can come on the canoe on my own with a camo netting and just try and get some photos, but what was that? What? That was epic. Almost like a comet or something. Yeah, anyway, as I was saying, I want to come back on the canoe with a camo netting over me so it won't really see me and try and get some photos. I'm going to share some resources in the description for how you can find a house in northern Sweden. Thank you for watching. See you next week. Something very exciting has happened and you'll find out soon. Bye!
Wow, that was like really... That was quite inspirational. What a story, like just to see like she moved to this very remote place, just bought a house over the internet, and it turned out to be something so wonderful, man. Such a like an amazing location. You really see the natural beauty of Sweden in this location, whether it's the, as I said, the landscapes or the wildlife itself. Yeah, such an interesting place. Can't wait to learn more. I'm really going to be learning more, trying to learn more about northern Sweden. Yeah, maybe look into like how you actually buy a house in a place like that for that price like that. Is that common to buy a house for that low price? But tell me what you think about this video and if you were ever consider moving to a place like this. Thanks.